You're on Kiwi. It's 11 minutes past 9 now.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Live from the New Scientist Labs, Janine Young, newscientist.com.
Melbourne City is where she resides, and she joins us this morning. Good morning to you, Janine.
Good morning to you.
First of all, today we're off to space, Janine, to find out how the boffins are trying to make it easier for spacemen and women, I suppose, up in space so that their muscles don't waste away.
It is a big problem with space travel. Your bones and your muscles waste away. Because we've gotten so used to having gravity, it means that there's always a pulling down on us, and you don't notice it while you're walking around. It's just like the air we breathe. It's just there. As soon as you escape the Earth's gravity and go up into space, it's microgravity. There's hardly any of it. So it means that the space people, let's be egalitarian about this, can lose 1.5% of the bone mass of some of the bones in their hips and their lower back in a month. Now, that's equivalent to how much a postmenopausal woman loses in a year.
Yeah.
So that's some pretty serious density loss in the bone. So what MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a guy called James Wild, who's now in Melbourne, interestingly, have tried to do is improve on the space suits that they're using at the moment to mean that they can actually try and get some pull back on the bones. They currently have a system where they can use bungee cords, and they sit on those for a while, but they're not comfortable to spend any length of time in, so therefore they only have limited use. So this one is a completely different type of suit that it's stretchy, but it's deliberately cut just a bit too short, and hey, stirrup pants are back, and it means I hate stirrup pants in the 80s, and I hate them now. I don't know why they're back. So many bad ideas from then have returned. Anyway, the stirrup pants are back, and because they're deliberately cut too short, it means that it pulls down, because it's a full bodysuit. It goes from the shoulders right the way down to the ankles. Because it's pulling, it's simulating the effect of gravity. So it means that you have constant compression on your spine and on your lower hips and on your back and the like. And they're finding that it is better. It's not perfect. You'll never be able to stop bone density loss at all, because you've got to use your muscles effectively to keep them in use. But, it's a step forward. It makes a big difference. So, yeah, having this suit means that they're not losing as much bone as they would otherwise do. A test that they did last year found that they actually weren't that great. They also have a different stretch factor across different parts of the suit, so the legs receive more pressure than, say, the torso does. They're interested now in whether or not they can stop the spine elongation, or actually, when you don't have gravity, or even when you sleep at night, your spine gets longer. It's because there's no pressure on it, and actually gets shorter during the day. They're checking now whether or not the spine elongation is happening, if they can, in fact, reduce that elongation, because, again, it's all a factor of microgravity and the like. So they're constantly trying to improve this suit, but it's certainly better than what they had before.
Yeah, that sounds like a very, very cool initiative, because one thing they're worried about with long-term space travel, particularly like to Mars, is just the effect on humans, and humans aren't made to be in that kind of environment.
Oh, we're so not made for that kind of thing. We are earthbound creatures. We're not meant to travel the stars when you think about it. Gravity is here for a reason. We've evolved with it. Our bodies know what to do with it. As soon as you escape it, well, yeah, things are going to go differently than they do here. So, yes, anything you can do to make it better is going to make their lives better, particularly if they plan to return to Earth. That's the problem. Some of them can't walk for weeks afterwards because they've lost so much muscle. They're not physically able to hold their bodies up, let alone walk around. Yeah.
All right, well, from a device for space to a device here on Earth to make the world a little bit safer for children.
This is a really interesting idea. Sung-hee Lee from the University of Tsukuba in Japan has been looking at whether or not there are ways to work out what children get up to during the day. Now, it's not just idle curiosity. It is an issue of safety and the like. Kids between about 2 and 6 are currently involved in a trial of wearing a monitor that not only looks at their heart rate, it has a camera, it has an accelerometer, so how fast the child is travelling. It has a gyroscope, has a GPS receiver, digital compass. It's looking at whether or not this kid is happy and healthy. And if they're not, if their heart rate goes up, for example, It takes a picture of wherever the child is and whatever they're looking at. It sends an email to the parents, and they can kind of go, my kid's not happy. Here's what's going on. They could be being bullied. They could be running for the bus. You never know. But it's a way potentially to be able to pick up where these children are, what they're up to, and if they're safe. And fundamentally, that's a parent's concern.
Yeah. Quite bizarre and quite extreme, really, don't you think?
Very much so. I could be really quite callous and say it's a very Japanese idea. They seem to come up with ideas that are completely off the wall compared to us. But you can see why there is an argument to be made. I mean, this probably wouldn't be tolerated in, say, Europe, because the intrusion into the child's privacy would be more than a lot of people could bear.
Yeah.
The children have to wear a heart rate monitor under their clothes. They then have a specific machine fitted in front of them. It's designed to be comfortable, we're assured, but in Japan the standards of privacy are much lower, and so they think if it's a parent's choice between the child being safe or having some privacy, then they're going for safety. Thank you very much. They want to know what's going on. And aside from anything else, you can get an idea of what it is that your child gets up to during the day. Do they like the monkey bars or do they like the swings?
And we always wanted to know. The big question. Janine, thanks so much.
See you next week.
Janine Young, newscientist.com, and also the stories you'll find in